Welcome to another episode of 6th grade math. So today we are going to focus on multiplying fractions. So in 5th grade you add and subtract fractions, but in 6th grade we multiply and divide. So today specifically we're going to talk about multiply. So hopefully we remember that multiplying can have an X for a symbol, but we kind of want to get away from that, and we also want to be able to use a circle and parentheses to show multiplication. And then fractions, remember, have a number on top and the bottom, or they could even be improper and have that bigger number on top. So those are fractions. So the strategy that we are going to be using for multiplying fractions, so if you notice, I have a fraction here and a fraction here with multiplication in the middle. We are going to do top times top and bottom times bottom. So from now on, if I say, how do we multiply fractions? You say top times top, bottom times bottom. And we just multiply across. And we're going to use those arrows to show our work. So let's look down here at our first practice problem. So we have 2/5 times 1/3. So we are indeed multiplying because we have that X in the middle and we have two fractions. So we are going to do top times top, bottom times bottom. And I want to see those arrows, please. And we just multiply across. 2 times 1 is 2. And since those were my top numbers, that's my new top number. And then 5 times 3 is 15. Since those are my two bottom numbers, those are my two bottom numbers, and that is it. It's that simple. Okay? So we're going to go across. Now we are here at this one. We are going to do 3/4. Parentheses 4, 6. Let's go ahead and make those parentheses a little bit bigger. Okay. So hopefully we remember that this is multiplication. We have a number next to another number. There's no symbols. So this is multiplying. And they're both fractions. So we're going to go top times top, bottom times bottom. 3 times 4 is 12. And 6 times 4 is 24. Okay. So now, some of you might notice that once we have both numbers, I can do what's called simplify, okay? So when I say simplify, we are going to ask ourselves, what could both of these numbers be divided by? And there's more than one answer. Or if I counted by 2s, could I get to 12 and 24? And the answer is yes. So I could technically simplify this and make this smaller. Okay, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then, honestly, we could still keep going. Okay, what could I divide both 6 and 12 by? I could do another 2, or I could even do a 6, because 6 goes into both of those. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So there are lots of different ways that you could simplify this. You could have even starting with 12 over 24. Some of you might realize that I can divide both of those by 12 even. So that would get me straight. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2. So that would have gotten me straight to the 1/2. But all of these are equivalent fractions. So any of those would technically be correct. Okay. Let's move down here. Let's make this square look a little bit more like a circle, okay? So this is multiplication. So again, top times top, bottom times bottom. 1 times 3 is 3, and 5 times 4 is 20. And I can't count by 2s and get to 3. The only thing I can count to 3 by is 3. But if I count by 3s, I cannot get to 20. I'd get to 21. So this one cannot be simplified. Okay, kind of like up here at this one, I can't count by 2s to get to 15, so that one can't be simplified either. And then lastly, we got 41 over 4 times 1/3, top times top, bottom times bottom. So that would give me 41 and 12, and 41, that's prime, so we can't simplify there. So again, if we have two fractions we're multiplying, we just go straight across top and bottom and multiply. Pretty simple. All right, let's look at some multiple choice down here. Okay, so in this first one, it says solve 2 times 5/8. So hopefully you realize that this 2 is a whole number. It's not a fraction, but we can make it a fraction, okay? So I need you to make a little note to yourself up here. We need to know that 2 whole numbers, if we want to make them a fraction, go over 1. That is on our invisible math wall. Okay, on the invisible math wall, it says 3 equals 3/1. So 2 is the same thing as 2/1. So before I start multiplying, I'm going to mark this one out, and I'm going to rewrite 2 as 2/1 times 5/8. So anytime we have a whole number, let's go ahead and put a little squiggly around that. We need to put it over a 1. So now in class, when I say what do whole numbers go over, you should say 1. Now we have fractions, and we can go top times top, bottom times bottom, and we get 10/8. Okay, and I know some of you might be it's an improper fraction, but that's okay. I do want to talk about these answer choices though, and I want you to see if you can find the Joe Schmo. Okay, what's the silly answer? So if I have a 10 on top, A also has a 10 on top, but it has an 8 and a 16. So they cannot just change one of the numbers. So the 16 in A makes it the Joe, because you have to change both numbers. You can't just change one of them. So B and C, so again, you could simplify. So we could do 10/8. And what can I count by that gives me 10 and 8? 2, that's always what I start with, and it works. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 8 divided by 2 is 4, which is indeed an answer choice. Or we learned yesterday that we can skip count the answer choices. So for B, I would have 5, 10 on top and 4, 8 on bottom. And that would also give me that equivalent fraction, okay? So moving on to our last problem, we now have 1/8 times 2/5, and we are going to do top times top, bottom times bottom, so that way we can get our answer. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 8 times 5 is 40. Can you find the Joe Schmo? Hopefully you realize it is C, because the bottoms both have 40, but the top is a 1. So that is my Joe. And on this one, I'm going to skip count first. So let's look at A. If I skip count A, that would be 1, 2. And then we could go 3, but I just need a 2 on top. And then 20, 40. Those match. So A is my answer. And then if we were to simplify, let's just practice. 2/40. I would divide by 2, because 2 is the only thing 2 can be divided by. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. So that would indeed give me A. So remember, whole numbers go over 1, and when we multiply fractions, we go top times top, bottom times bottom.